We will now proceed under the 5-minute rule with questions for the witness. I'll begin by recognizing myself. The opioid epidemic continues to ravage communities in my home state of Kentucky, of course, and across the country. As you highlighted in your testimony, the FBI is doing extraordinary work disrupting opioid trafficking networks on the dark net. What are some of the most significant actions the FBI is currently taking to curb the deadly opioid epidemic plaguing the U.S., and are you keeping pace with emerging dealers and marketplaces?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you and I have discussed, this is, I think it's sometimes hard to come up with a strong enough word to capture what a significant crisis this is. Epidemic is the word I keep coming back to, and I really think that's accurate. This is an all-hands-on-deck approach. The FBI is trying to do our part, along with all sorts of other agencies and partners, even outside of government. But I'll list several things that really try to tap into what we can uniquely bring to the table. First, we have a prescription drug initiative, which taps into our healthcare fraud expertise, where we go after pill mills and a lot of the professionals who are fueling the crisis. In particular, in the Appalachian region, we have a significant effort there against providers who abuse their oaths and are a part of the problem. Second, through our Safe Streets task forces all over the country, we target the gangs who are distributing fentanyl and other dangerous drugs all over the country. Third, through our transnational organized crime West programs, we target the cartels, the transnational criminal organizations that are the supply, the source of supply. Fourth, as you referenced in your question, we have a significant initiative called J-Code, which is the FBI-led but involves 12, I think it's about 12 agencies, which is focused on disrupting and dismantling darknet traffickers and marketplaces for fentanyl and other synthetic dangerous substances. We've had a number of major operations. Operation Dark Hunter, for example, was not that long ago, which took down what was at the time, at least, the largest illicit marketplace on the darknet. But we're also doing other things beyond just our investigative work. From an awareness-raising perspective, we've got something called Operation Protector, which is designed to reach out to schools, both middle schools, high schools, colleges, military service members, wellness centers, things like that, to raise awareness about the problem. It follows on the heels of a similar kind of effort that we did jointly with DEA called Chasing the Dragon, which is, again, we're trying to see what we can do, what we can uniquely contribute to kind of hit the problem at multiple levels on the continuum of this really multidisciplinary threat.
Which, if any, of the program increases that you request would be used to enhance or increase your transnational organized crime efforts, including the J-Code initiative?
Well, a number of our violent crime piece would be relevant to that problem, to our efforts there. Some of our technology pieces would be relevant to that. Really, it's kind of across the board, because in some ways the opioid crisis and the organized crime problem that goes with it ends up kind of permeating almost every program that the FBI addresses these days.
By all accounts, the fact that the drug cartels occupy places all across our country, not to mention internationally, what are you doing to go after the cartels?
So as I mentioned, we have about 380, I think it is, investigations specifically into cartel leadership. We are working with our Mexican law enforcement partners through vetted teams and things like that to go after some of those. There have been some key indictments announced recently. We are also trying to cut off sources of funding for the cartels, and then also trying to hit their distribution network here in the U.S. Those are a few things that I would list.
The DEA director testified this morning before our subcommittee and dealt with the some 28 people charged from the cartels. And the DEA has an ongoing effort along with you and others. How is that partnership working?
Well, I can tell you, Mr. Chairman, that we have a great partnership with DEA. In fact, when having been in law enforcement in and out throughout my career, when I look at the relationship between the FBI and the DEA these days compared to what it was like when I was a line prosecutor, in Atlanta years and years ago, it's just, it's night and day. And I think a lot of that is just a recognition of how significant the threat is and how much more productive we can all be working together as a team. We do it on things like OCDF strike forces, for example. And so it's been a very, I think, effective partnership, and I have a lot of respect for the men and women of the DEA who are just fantastic partners.
What are some of the more troubling criminal enterprises on the darknet that your agents and analysts are working to defeat?
Well, the thing about the darknet that is so challenging is that these marketplaces have become a place where people can come shop for really every kind of dangerous criminal product or service that's out there. So I mean everything from certainly things like fentanyl, as we already talked about, but also all the way over to stolen credentials to log into somebody's network, or you can hire hitmen. I mean, we've even had WMD type products, if you will, being marketed on the darknet. So it really is a kind of soup to nuts place of just unbelievably dangerous criminal activity. And the key to taking something like that down is both the technical expertise, which is part of why we have the cyber piece that's so significant in our budget request, but it's also the international piece of it, because we're most effective in order to avoid sort of a whack-a-mole effect when we take down one of these marketplaces. We have to work with our foreign partners. So, for example, we had a very good success against a market called Alphabay, where we worked closely with the Dutch, among others, and we timed it so that as we took down one market, and we knew the bad guys were all going to flock to this other market, so we took down one, they fled to the other one. They basically fled right into the arms of the Dutch law enforcement, so we were able to kind of take down two at one time, in effect. It's oversimplified, but that's the basic idea. And we need both the high-tech expertise and the cross-border cooperation with our foreign law enforcement partners.
My time has expired. However, I wanted to reemphasize with you the utter importance of taking down the cartels. By all accounts, the main vehicle for bringing fentanyl and others to the table. So thank you for that work. Mr. Cartwright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.